Okay, Nick and Andy, this is a serious question here because it's come into crunch time in the season for Liverpool across multiple competitions. The heat, the pressure is really cranking up. We see them lose at Plymouth in a huge shock, much changed Liverpool side, but a huge shock still in the FA Cup at the weekend. Then they weren't great, Everton, but Salah's magic had them 2-1 up late on, and then they let in a late equaliser like they did from James Tarkowski, and all hell broke loose with Arne Slot being sent off, losing the plot. You had Curtis Jones getting a red card. Nick, it just seems like a bit of maybe creaking for Liverpool. They're still 7 points clear of Arsenal in the title race, still looking pretty, don't get me wrong. But these games coming up and just where they're at right now and the type of goals they're conceding, is there kind of just a seed of doubt in Liverpool's fans' minds? Being like, I'm not really happy with what I'm seeing here. This could unravel in the next few weeks. Or am I just being a bit too reactionary to these results?
No, I think you could be right. And we see teams, we talk about this all the time. Teams barely have one bad game in a row. It's usually a stretch of 2 or 3 games where they get in a mini funk and the good teams break out of it. And the good teams and the lucky teams also get wins from those games. But I will say this. You can make the appropriate amount of excuses to brush this off, even though it was a derby, right? On that play, for example, there are calls that weren't made that I think are fine, but if they were made, you wouldn't have thought twice about them. Yeah. Like, as one of those razor's edge, we're going with what was called on the field. In that game, you don't have Trent for the whole game. You have a situation where Jones came on and got a yellow card. I don't think he ever looked in the game. And the Plymouth game, they literally changed the entire team. Salah wasn't even on the bench. So I credit Plymouth there. But I think if you want to write this off, you can write this off. And I want to lean that way. But I know exactly that you too can tell me why I shouldn't and why there should be reason for worry.
Andy, explain.
I don't think I got that answer for you, Nick.
Okay.
Okay.
I think what the title race is this year, we've got 2 second-place teams in the title race this year. We don't have a clear, dominant kind of all-time champion the way that we have the last handful of years, because we had the amazing City run, we had that great Liverpool team, and we have had teams, and obviously there were a couple seasons where they were neck and neck with each other the whole way. There were 2 of the champions that season, but this season doesn't feel like there's one of those teams, and so somebody obviously is going to have to win it. And I think the combination of Liverpool 7 points ahead with 14 games to go, they're turning into the home stretch now. And this is an experienced team that has been there and done this before, for the most part, obviously under a new manager. But I think the other important thing is we spent a lot of time this week talking about Arsenal and the issues they've got. How are they going to close the gap of 7 points to Liverpool? Liverpool could slip up for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and it could just get Arsenal back to level on points with them. And so there is such a gap now. They were so good early in the season without being dominant again that they gave themselves this little bit of cushion, this margin for error in the second half of the season. And it does seem like they're going to need a little bit of it, and that's to be expected with the Champions League going on. They look one of the teams that could win that competition. And so we could be talking at the end of the season, they won the Premier League and the Champions League. This conversation back in February, what were we talking about?
But it is crunch. I mean, we look at this weekend, Wolves, then they've got Aston Villa in midweek, then they go to Man City away, and then they have Newcastle as well. So there's a lot of draws in there, it would seem to me, Nick. If I'm looking at it, previously it'd been like, this is fine to draw against Villa, City, Newcastle. But in the situation they're in, all of a sudden that league could have evaporated. And I just worry about, Liverpool have been in this situation very recently under Jurgen Klopp before he left, where they were top of the league. And then just it seems like something similar could happen to me. And again, this is a different Liverpool team, different style of play under Arne Slot. But there is some kind of precedent here that they've set before themselves where they have been top around Christmas time and then just fallen away a little bit towards the end of the season. And again, like Andy said, we're not talking about the juggernaut that's City, talking about Arsenal that have injury issues and attack. Nottingham Forest aren't really in the conversation anymore. So to me, it seems like the next few weeks are crucial. And I just worry a little bit. Arne Slot, after the defeat against Plymouth, was very critical about it being unacceptable, even with the players missing. And then his reaction, the way he reacted, the referee got himself sent off at the final whistle, just told me a lot, really, that maybe things aren't quite as straightforward as it seems for Liverpool? Again, am I reading too much into this and this kind of reaction?
No, I don't think so, because we only saw Slot for the first months of the year as a cool, comfortable, everything's fine guy. And this is that first moment. I mean, you're alluding to that. This is that first few moments. And when you start to look at, the schedule makers doing no favors to them. They qualify for the League Cup, and it's like, hey, I know you had a midweek game next week too, by the way, and it's Villa. So the schedule has become, and this is not something you could have predicted a month ago, that February was going to be a real problem for them, because thank goodness they got that Champions League bye. Holy cow, what would their fixture list look like if they didn't do that? So I will say this, they have to navigate this. I think a couple of draws will be enough when you talk about playing Man City and you talk about playing Newcastle and Villa. If there are a couple draws in there and they come away from this with a 3-point lead or a 4-point lead, fine, because that's the cushion you built for yourself, to Andy's point. And thankfully for them, I believe that the 4 teams they could play in the Champions League are, well, it probably won't be Brest now. They're down 3-0 to Paris Saint-Germain, but Benfica, Monaco, it's not going to be something that's going to crush you. So I think it's a good thing they built up the leeway they've built up.
Yeah. And to me, it just seems like the slot machine has malfunctioned slightly, but it can be reset and he can go again. But he's been very cool and calm all season. So it was a surprise in that Merseyside derby to see him react like that. And sorry, I just had to get that joke out. That was sitting in my head.
Oh, it's perfectly fine.
Let's see if Liverpool are going to be perfectly fine. So head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com to see how they navigate the next few weeks. A lot of big games coming up, and we're about to learn a lot more about Arne Slot and this Liverpool side in the title race.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Lowe, and as we head towards the end of an exciting Premier League season, make sure you like and subscribe on the NBC Sports YouTube channel for more content like this.